This is me, Spoon Beast.
Hey folks, how's it going out in YouTube land? Yeah, I got these couple topics that I want to reach out about in this video. The room looks overly dark. Maybe because it's almost 2:30 in the morning, that's why it's so dark, but I tried to screw around with the lighting. Hopefully, I look good enough. Just the background's really extremely dark. Which doesn't really matter anyway. What needs to matter is the words coming out of my mouth, basically. What I talk about matters most, so let's get down to it. Originally, this video was only supposed to be on one of these topics that I meant to talk about for just a little while. And that was, some news about Nintendo and the games they're going to be getting. But I also just realized this news today, and it seems like it's, at least a few days old, but Nintendo, from what I've read, is actually blaming their woes from their company at their horrible year in terms of business for 2011. They're single-handedly blaming Mario. Yeah, they're blaming their franchise character for their woes as an entire company. So, is it Mario's fault the 3DS is failing? Is it Mario's fault? Well, not really failing, but, is it that it's not catching on as well as they thought they did? Is it Mario's fault that the Wii U wasn't really all that favored after E3? Is it Mario's fault that they lost money? Is it Mario's fault that maybe their games aren't selling that well that have nothing to do with Mario? It's completely and utterly ridiculous. They're saying, Mario is just, he's too old. He's an aging character and people are past him. Well, maybe because of the saturation of him over the years, maybe he is getting a little bit maybe repetitive and stale. But as far as I'm concerned, Super Mario Galaxy sold pretty good. That's a pretty good series. If it lived anymore for the Wii, you could probably create a third one. But I'm sure with the release of the Wii U, they'll create some sort of new Mario gimmick title, which is going to be cool if they can think of anything else like that. But as far as I'm concerned, that game was sold very well. Mario Sunshine may have been, a little lackluster, but the whole GameCube thing was pretty well lackluster, except for Super Smash Brothers, like usual. But, that game sold pretty well. Super Mario 64 sold like hotcakes. Super Mario World was a huge seller. And the Mario games for the NES were huge sellers. It's just all these spin-offs and everything. You plaster him on everywhere. It's an oversaturation that people get bored of. You create a Mario game, if it's good, people are going to play it. And that's just the way I see things. It's kind of ridiculous that they're taking just, their one main character and putting blame on everything. Yeah, Sega's whole thing fell apart because of their management and business. Now, could you imagine if, they blamed their losses in the console wars directly on Sonic? Oh, Sonic, he's our main guy, but, we rely on him to sell games, and he's so stale and repetitive, and, our business went under because of Sonic. If anything, he salvaged, them from dying earlier. Anything like that. Like, don't blame a character because he's just your flagship, guy on your whole company's problems. This is similar, and I'm just going to go WWE for a second. The WWE is blaming The Miz solely for the bad Survivor Series buy rate in a show that had Cena and The Rock teaming up against Miz and R-Truth. But, the big draws like Cena and Rock, these huge legendary figures, don't get any of the blame. Somehow R-Truth escaped that. Maybe he wasn't supposed to draw. But since Miz was seen as a bigger superstar than R-Truth, he gets most of the blame. Whereas with Nintendo here, they're putting blame on their biggest guy. That would be like the WWE putting the biggest blame on that whole thing on John Cena. It doesn't even make sense for them to be blaming, one of their top stars in The Miz. Putting the blame on anybody's stupid. That show was built up horribly. That's why it got such a shitty buy rate. I watched it, I thought it was a fairly entertaining show. But the build for it was piss poor. Just because you have a piss poor year, Nintendo, this is a problem with all these major companies, is that they always, it's never, management or this or that's fault. It's, it's one of your creation's fault. Somewhere else lies blame for their issues. They're saying that, oh, Mario, he's an aging figure. No, gamers aren't interested in that anymore. Well, if they weren't interested in that anymore, they would have stopped buying Mario games years ago. And I'm not talking about stupid Mario Tennis or all these stupid, shitty spin-off games. Mario Kart, at least that's a good spin-off. That was like the first one. That can still keep going. But I mean, or like even Super Smash Brothers. Those are good spin-offs. I'm talking, all their useless, like every Mario game that has to do with like tennis and sports, and it's just ridiculous. Like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, all this oversaturation that isn't even useful. Nobody buys that because it's crap. If you develop and make good Mario games, people are going to buy them because there's always going to be an internal love for the character. Fuck, Disney still uses Mickey Mouse as their mascot, and he's their main draw. They could release cartoons and movies still, he'd be that successful. Considering that they bastardized a lot about that, and they made that stupid-ass computerized cartoon show, but I'm sure it's pretty successful for little kids. They could release, a whole animated classic feature Mickey film, and it would still draw. Because he's their main guy. Mario is always going to be there. He's always going to be in people's forefronts. He's always going to be your main draw. He's always going to be the main guy putting in the money. And if you make good Mario games, it's never going to be an issue. And you shouldn't blame everything that goes wrong in your company on your number one moneymaker. It just makes no sense. I don't know what to say about this. They're blaming him mainly for, the slow DS sales. And since they had to do the price cut on that console, they're also blaming him for that because of the slow sales. What does Mario have to do with the 3DS? That should be all on marketing. Like, really. What does he have to do with that? Why does it make sense to put the blame on him? It makes no sense at all. And, I've already gone on way too long about this. Drop your comments in the comment box down there, and you also join in the discussion. Do you think it's right that Nintendo places their blame on their very bad business success of 2011 on Mario? Does that make any sense to you? Because for me, don't blame business aspects on a creation. That's the ultimate cop-out. People in charge should take the blame, not their creations, not the things that are supposed to draw in the money because they created them. And I bet the Mario games were the best-selling, so what's the problem? How come you're blaming him for a marketing issue with the 3DS? Because somebody else has to be blamed for it, right? Even if they're fictional. Anyway, I'm going to provide a link in the description box down below, down there, so you can read this article for yourself. I just couldn't believe it when I read this. It's just unbelievable. But that's enough on that. I've already wasted enough time ranting about that. Next, I'm going to talk about something that's a little interesting to me and what this original video was supposed to be about. Why I didn't just make it on that video is because, one, I found that other news, and two, I tried to kind of think of ways to kind of go on about this, but I thought blending the two topics together would create for a more intriguing video and make it a little bit more entertaining than it would have been without. So, basically, Ubisoft announced that Assassin's Creed 3 would be released on the Wii U, along with, the Xbox and the Xbox... what was that? What am I thinking? The Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, I believe, is what, they have planned for Assassin's Creed 3. And, what's really interesting about that is that, if, if this stuff continues, also, this is very important, Konami is developing a Metal Gear game for the 3DS. I think it's called Metal Gear Solid 3D, which that's a long time since, Konami developed any Metal Gear game for a Nintendo console. I believe the last time was Metal Gear Solid, I believe it was called the Twin Snakes, is for the GameCube. I knew it was some game for the GameCube was the last one from just this whole noggin of memory. So that's pretty big news. Assassin's Creed 3 to be for the Wii U. It's going to be for the PlayStation and the Xbox. That's big because this franchise has never been on a Nintendo console. Ever since the Wii's existence, it's always just been for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And now they're going to be making, the third game for the Wii U. And apparently this game is going to have some sort of, late October, early November release date. Maybe that, and if it's going to be released for the Wii U, it's got to coincide with the Wii U's release, so maybe we'll see some sort of fall release date for the Wii U itself. Again, if that's what they decide to name it. But I just find this very interesting, and Square Enix has been making a lot of games for the 3DS as well. As I've said earlier, Capcom wants to work very closely with Nintendo on, making games for the Wii U. One of them is Resident Evil 6, which, Capcom has remained very silent about, and we don't know any details to it at all, except for the fact that it will be made for the Wii U. So Capcom, Konami, and Ubisoft are all making new games for the Wii U, and this could just be a drift. What if more third-party developers start drifting towards Nintendo making games for? We could see games that are for the PlayStation and Xbox that could slowly be put on the Wii U. And I'm not talking about exclusives. You're always going to have your exclusives, like Halo for the Xbox, Mario and Zelda stuff for Nintendo's consoles. You got Little Big Planet, and God of War and such for the PlayStation, and Killzone even. But I'm just talking about, major games that, were made exclusively for Xbox and PlayStation now being for Nintendo. Like, for instance, I can't think of much past Assassin's Creed, but I'm sure there's more. I'm pretty sure the Batman games, like the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and that, they were for, both the PlayStation and the Xbox. And apparently, Arkham City is actually going to come out for the Wii U. I'm just reading this now. So as I was saying, those Batman games could come out for the Wii U, and apparently it's going to be coming out. So this could be like this is a major thing, for all these consoles that are about to be coming out in the near future, for this new console that's coming out in the near future. It's got graphics that can rival the Xbox and the PlayStation. Now, granted, it'll be out for a few years, and then Sony and Microsoft will demand to make something, more high-tech and better and have better graphics so they can get more, more fans, and, they can win the console wars all over again, because all gamers seem to care about is their damn graphics. For me, it's never been about the graphics. It's always been about the gameplay. If you have fun playing a game and it's got good controls, that's all that should matter. It doesn't matter if it has Atari graphics or not. As long as it's fun and easy to pick up and play, it's fine with me. Controls and the level of fun matter more than graphics. I prefer Super Mario World over in 95% of the games that are out today, and they have these amazing, awesome graphics and 3D perspective. And I prefer, my old 16-bit games, some of them. Especially Super Mario World. That game's classic. It's my favorite of all time. But I found it, so, with the Wii U, graphics aren't everything. The Wii proved that perfectly. I still believe it's number one in sales over the PlayStation and the Xbox. Sure, price has something to do with that, but so does the fact that it's Nintendo, and they, even though I found it was cheap marketing, they knew how to market a console, and they knew how to get their product out there, and they, after, the N64 and GameCube had struggles against Sony, and even Microsoft to the next extent, they thought they had to do something different, and if it had to do with, making a niche market and selling that niche market, and then expanded into this huge cycle of family entertainment, and that's what works for them. They're trying this new tablet thing with the Wii U, which makes sense because tablets are the big thing that are going right now. And now, due to this, other gaming companies are being like, well, maybe we should, work with Nintendo and sell it on this. Maybe our games will sell better on this new console. With the, they're pushing this. Tablets are selling. A tablet controller-based console could be the next big thing. It could even be bigger than the original Wii. So these are all things that these companies are talking about and considering, and it's a big thing. We could see more huge things other than the Batman Arkham series and Assassin's Creed and Metal Gear. We could get a lot more third-party, stuff that's, and things by Capcom. Maybe Mega Man can make a comeback. It's an endless possibility with how big this console could be. And, it may have a shitty name, but it's going to have a big impact on the gaming community when it comes out later this year. And that's all I really have to say. This video is pretty well all too long already. I've rambled enough. Hope you all are doing fine out there. You see, before I go off, you see, I took a little, couple day break. I think it was like 4-day break that I took. Because, you got to be able to do stuff and think of good topics and that. And I was kind of burnt out. Like, I did like 5-6 videos in like a span of 2 days each from each other. That's a little long. I think I could go like a week, maybe 4 days again, 4 or 5 days. Between 4 to 7 days is when you can expect new videos to be uploaded. Just check your subscriptions. They'll be up soon enough. That's pretty much all I have to say on the issue. Just check your subscriptions box for when you see my new videos, because I'm going to start slowing them down. They definitely need to be slowed down, and I'll think of new stuff to talk about. I certainly have a video planned for the next couple days that, I was supposed to talk about that months ago. So long ago that it's finally going to be addressed. It's another thing to do with a Super Smash Bros. 4. But it's more of a predictions video than anything else. So, and, more of a do or don't type situation that I'm going to have to address in the coming days. But anyway, peace out, everybody. Hope you have a good weekend out there. I'm Spood Beast, and I'm out. See you later.